victim, the family of one of the victims, sitting at home in the United States, listening to this, who say, look, I'm sorry, Mr. MacAskill, this is just legal mumbo-jumbo. 1 minute you're telling me that you are not going to transfer Mr. Megrahi to a prison in Libya because you are taking our views into account about the nature of the agreements that was made. 2 minutes later, you're telling us that not only are you going to return him to Libya, you're going to set him free completely.
Well, the criteria are different. The Americans made it quite clear.
But everyone in America sees that as a distinction without a difference.
Well, the American families who I spoke to personally through video conference links indicated that they had been given assurances by the UK government that the sentence would be served in Scotland. They did accept that compassionate release was a different matter, as indeed did the government of the United States. I fully accept that they do not agree with the decision I have taken on compassionate release, but they do accept that the criteria is different and is distinct. That is why I rejected the prisoner transfer application, but following the rules and guidance laid down in laws in Scotland on compassionate release and bearing in mind the values of humanity that we possess, I was prepared to allow him to go home to Libya to die.
Now, the Scottish Criminal Complaints Review Commission has put forward arguments which, in the eyes of many people, undermine the conviction, the safety of the conviction, as they would say in England, or indeed they argue it could be a miscarriage of justice, there was going to be a retrial. Can you understand the frustration of people that there is now, on the face of it, no way for these matters ever to be considered?
Well, that was a matter for Mr. Megrahi and his lawyers. He chose to abandon these appeals. We did not seek or request that. But as I say, I do accept that there are issues of wider concern. My position as the Cabinet Secretary for Justice in Scotland is that there was a valid conviction brought in and it was upheld on appeal. I do recognise that there are wider issues of concern, but they are global, they are international.
So there is no legal procedure open to you that would allow the matters that would have been raised in the appeal now to be raised?
No, I don't believe that there are. And as I say, the issues that...
Okay, why doesn't your government in that case order a public inquiry into at least the Scottish aspects of this affair?
Well, if that's felt necessary by Parliament, then clearly we'll consider.
You will consider it?
What we've said is we're relaxed about any public inquiry. My position as the Cabinet Secretary for Justice is that this matter was properly investigated, properly prosecuted and properly a justice verdict brought back by our judiciary. I do recognise that there are issues of wider concern. Many of them are global and international. They are beyond the jurisdiction of the law of Scotland. They're beyond the limited powers of us as a devolved Parliament. They are international in dimension. If it is sought fit to have a public inquiry, we will cooperate, and as Justice Secretary, I will be pivotal in leading that cooperation.
Right, but I'm asking you a very simple question. Do you think there should be a public inquiry?
I don't see the need for a public inquiry relating to the Scottish issues. As far as I'm concerned, matters have been resolved in Scotland. There is a conviction. I do recognise wider issues of concern relating to matters of an international nature, relating to a whole array of matters. That's a matter upon which I'm frankly relaxed. It's beyond my control and beyond the powers of either the Scots legal system or indeed the Scottish Government. If that happens, I give you an absolute assurance that the Scottish Government will fully cooperate.
And do you welcome a recall of Parliament to discuss this?
That's a matter for Parliament. I was quite prepared to make a statement on the first available day. If the first available day is now with a recalled Parliament on Monday, I will be happy to go and do my duty as the Cabinet Secretary to make that announcement clear.
Are you satisfied in your own mind that Mr. Megrahi was actually guilty?
Yes.
Why?
Because it was properly pursued, properly investigated and properly considered by the Scottish justice system. I'm proud to serve as the Cabinet Secretary for Justice. This justice system has served us well for centuries. I have great faith in it. As I say, my decision, and it was my decision alone, was based that a just verdict had been brought in, but compassion requires to be shown. Okay,
suppose you're right. I think most people would consider that the whole story, the full story about what happened to Pan Am Flight 103 has not really come out. Clearly, the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission thought there were additional matters which needed examination. The only person ever convicted for killing all those people is about to land in Libya and presumably be feted on arrival. I mean, this is not a satisfactory state of affairs, is it?
Well, I recognise that there are issues of wider concern around the globe. These issues are beyond...
But you can understand many people saying, look, this just isn't right.
I recognise I've been saying that, and I concede that there are issues of great concern to many. But as I say, they're issues of international nature, they're global, they're beyond the rule of law and jurisdiction of the Scots law, they're beyond the limited powers of the Scottish Parliament and the Scottish Government. We do not deal with international treaties. We are not responsible for a whole variety of matters. There are things that I accept have caused people to have concern. And if it's felt appropriate, whether it's by the UK Government, by the United Nations or anybody else, what I give you and everybody else an undertaking is that I and the Scottish Government will fully cooperate. But they're beyond our jurisdiction, beyond our powers, but we will, as I say, have nothing to hide and will make sure that we provide everything to assist in those who wish any further inquiry. But it is for them, not us.
How are you feeling about this?
It's been a long and tiring matter. It has gone on for...
But you're in a situation now where you will forever be known internationally as the man who released the Lockerbie bomber.
Well, I am proud and privileged to serve as a Cabinet Secretary for Justice. I didn't seek to have to make this decision. These applications were made by the Libyan government and Mr. Al Megrahi. The responsibility for the tragedy rests with him because the incident started on the 21st of December 1988. But somebody had to make a decision. That person was the Cabinet Secretary for Justice. That decision...
We know that. I'm really asking you, you know, how you feel about it. Can you live with this? I mean, people will be saying to you, look, you are the man who has just released the biggest mass murderer in British history.
Well, I am proud of the Scottish Police, Prosecution and Judiciary that brought Al Megrahi to justice. I also seek to live up to the values of humanity and compassion that we possess as a Scottish people. I believe that justice was done, and I believe that we've sought to live up to those values. It was my decision and my decision alone, but I stand